It also bees that way.
Nina Simone, one of our absolute favorite artists here at WNCW. It bees that way sometimes. I'm Martin Anderson, joined by a guest who certainly knew Nina Simone well because he was her brother and confidant and manager for a lot of her career. It's Dr. Samuel Waymon visiting us here in the WNCW Air Studio this morning. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Happy Black History Month.
Thank you. You know, I wrote that song you just finished playing. Right?
I was going to ask about that song because we have a lot of Nina Simone songs here, but we don't have all of them because she was so prolific, and we don't have all of them. And in preparing for this interview, you told me about a couple of ones that we really should have, like that one. You wrote that, and she recorded it. Tell us about it. What's the backstory?
Well, the backstory is I was sitting down at the piano one day writing this song because Nina and I lived together for quite some time, and I was sitting at the grand piano practicing, playing, and I heard this hand clapping behind me. She had been sitting there while I was playing, and I had turned around, and she said, and she clapped, and she said, then she came over and she sat on the piano stool next to me, and said, "I love that song. Can you teach me how to play it? I want to play like you."
Oh.
And I said. And I turned and looked at her with total shock. "You want to play like me? No. You're the best piano player in the world. No way." She said, "No." And the reason she said that was because of the style that I had, rhythmic. Now, remember, she and I both took classical piano lessons from Mrs. Mazzy in Tryon, the famous Mrs. Mazzy, we call her. Mrs. Mazinovich.
Yes, Mazinovich.
Yes, very German.
Oh, wasn't she English? Maybe?
No.
No, okay. I thought maybe she was English and her husband was German or Russian or something.
Well, from what I gather, she was extremely German.
Okay.
Germanic.
So you both took lessons from her there in Tryon?
Yes. Both of us took lessons at age 3. So I've been playing since age 3. So when I played the song, she liked it, and then she asked me, could I... And I recorded it on RCA. She was on RCA at the time, too.
And what year are we talking? Like when you did it?
60s, 70s.
Okay. 60s, I guess it would have been.
My goodness.
This recording we played was from 67. So
then that's what
So you must have recorded it
65,
little before then?
66, yes. Because we were both on the same label. Both of us were on RCA at the time. 67?
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Time flies, doesn't it, Doctor?
Tell me about it. Okay.
So she liked your style of playing.
Yes, she did. And we both incorporated kind of blues and jazz, as you know, into our music.
Oh, yeah.
And she liked that style. So I gave her permission to sing it. And then Montego Joe, the great Montego Joe, he recorded it.
Okay.
I think Mongo Santa Maria recorded it.
Oh, all
so
right.
I'm cool.
Yes, you are.
So it was great. It was great. It was great. Yes.
Oh, that's great. There was that song, but there was so much more with Nina Simone's career that you were a part of. You're kind of I guess a manager can mean lots of different things, but basically you helped manage certain aspects of her, which must have been just a crazy career with her popularity blossoming and her struggling to just kind of deal with all that and all the pressures.
Well, it didn't start out that way. I started with her as an organist. I played the Hammond B3. And most people don't know what that is. They call it the Beast because it's huge. It's the Hammond B3 with the foot pedals and everything. Not as big as the organs in the cathedral, like a Cathedral of St. John the Divine with the pipes. Not that huge. But back in those days, most jazz ensembles had an organ, and the only one you could travel with legally, logistically, would be the Hammond B3. So I played the Hammond B3 with her, and tambourines and toys, because I played congas as well, congas and cuicas and things, bongos, and so it started out with that. Because we both sang, I sang harmony with her a great deal. I wasn't her manager at first. I managed several groups. Management is very difficult.
Yeah.
And it was even more difficult. I was with someone who was extremely temperamental and very moody. And so when Nina asked me Eunice. I call her Eunice. Sorry,
Her
everybody.
birth name, yeah.
Yeah, I was the only one allowed to call her that, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I call her Eunice. She's and I understand the paradox of Nina Simone and Eunice, but when she asked me to join the group, the bands were so happy because they said, "We're glad you joined the group because it takes some of the weight off of us." You know, it was splendid. It was a beautiful experience. We started at the Village Gate in New York, down in the Village.
Early 60s, right?
Yes, Art Delugoff's Village Gate.
There's an old recording of hers, an LP that was released in 1961, I think.
Yes, that's right. That's where I met Miles Davis. That's when and where I met Miles. Max Roach later on became one of my best friends. Abby Lincoln, Odetta, Maria McCabe, Hugh Masekela. All of those wonderful musicians, amazing musicians, that's where I met them and nurtured a relationship and a friendship from that point on to now.
Yeah.
And as I started playing the tamarines, et cetera, then I jumped up to, how can I say, managerial. I was not her music director. I think that was Al Shackman or Rudy Stevenson that was with her at the time.
Okay.
Okay. And Rudy Stevenson was the guitarist for the Fifth Dimension at the time. And then Al Shackman, amazing guitarist. He was with her for the longest. It took 25 or 30 years, 40 years may have been. Then I took over management, and I became her confidant, her friend, and her protector.
Right.
And that's the legacy I have with her.
And when you say her protector, you know, and you talk about the paradox of Eunice Waymon, Nina Simone, you're talking about just the outside pressures and her adapting to, you know, whether it was bipolar or just disorder or whatever, the various struggles she had and the pressures of that fame that comes with fame and with being so outspoken. I guess it's a lot of different things you were a protector of.
Well, yeah. Back in those days, bipolar was not a popular word. We didn't use that word back then. I didn't know what it meant. And that, you understand. So what she was going through were a multitude of very complex emotional navigations of her. She had to navigate through the pressure of being in show business, but also the movement. She was subject, and I have to say this because it's not an ego statement I'm about to make, but once I became part of her, it became my struggle too. Now, even though she's 9 years older, I still had my experiences with injustice in a different way than she did. Yet they were the same. And I don't think you know how. Do you know how she asked me to join the band? Did I ever tell you that story?
No, sir.
I was in Philadelphia. I was a welder.
Oh.
I've always had music, but I was welding in a New York ship in Camden, New Jersey. And I got a phone call. I was still playing for schools and churches and clubs and things. And I got this call from my sister, and she said, "Hello, Sam. You want to have lunch today?" I said, "Sure." And she's calling me from New York. I'm in Philadelphia. "I'll pick you up at 12. I said, "Okay." Now it's 9 o'clock. And at 9:30, no, 10 o'clock, she picks me up. She rented a helicopter.
No.
$500 an hour. She rented a helicopter to fly from New York to Philadelphia to meet me in Philadelphia. Drove up in a limousine, picked me up at 10. We went out and had lunch. And then she said to me, "Okay, I have a gig at the Village Gate, and I need somebody I can trust." Because, see, Nina was known, she's notorious for not trusting anybody. And I get that. I can relate to that. I'm still that way today, really. I get that. She said, I would love to have you play with me and be with me because I need family beside me. And you have to remember, Martin, that I'm the only other out of 8 beside her that were talented, as I like to say, as we were, because we both started playing the piano when we were 3 years old. Even though all 7 of the other brothers and sisters could play, everybody in the family played.
Okay.
All 8 of us, including my mom and dad.
Yeah, of course.
My father was a honky-tonk piano player, born in 1898. My mother was a vaudeville dancer, a high-kicking, high-yellow lady who, before she became a preacher. She was born in 1901. She played the piano. All 8 brothers and sisters played. So I said all that to say what? That Nina knew that I had a gift like her. We both were gifted. I know that, but we don't understand it. We were just gifted that way. And she's told me, she said, I need somebody with me that understands me. And not only that, that I know loves me. I'm the baby brother. I know I'm spoiled. Mm-hmm. All baby brothers and sisters are spoiled, but not to the extent that I didn't realize to what extent that meant to them. She said, because you tell the truth. I know you care about me. I know you love me. And you're like my father. You care about me. And I need some soul family next to me, with me, who understands the craziness of this talent of playing in show business. Would you join me? I thought about it overnight. I called her the next morning. I called my mom. I said, Mom, Eunice wants me to do this and blah, 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 blah. And she says, well, my mother was extremely religious. We never disrespected her, never yelled at her. She said, let the Lord lead you. He will give you a sign. You follow your heart. She always told me to follow my heart. So I did. I called Eunice up and I said, sure, why not? Okay, I flew up to New York and the rest is history.
Right, yeah.
And that's when I joined the band, and my first professional gig on that level was at the Village Gate.
Wow.
And the next thing was the Blue Note and then the Vanguard and everything. But the Village Gate was such an amazing, overwhelming, emotional, evolving experience, because that's where I met all these other great legends. And I grew up overnight. I wasn't intimidated. I just had to feel my way around. And I'm on stage. I wish people today could see the way Nina and I performed. The organ was back to back, facing her. We always faced each other, just like I'm looking at you right now, always. Before that, backstage, she always wanted to make sure she looked okay, so she would call me, where's my brother? I want her to check me out. So I would look at her and see that her hair was okay and, zip me up from the back, all the normal things that brothers do for sisters. And I walked out, and there was, I always walked out holding her hand. Excuse me. I always walked out holding her hand. She would take her, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Nina Simone. She would take her queenly bow. I'm holding her hands. I'll walk over to the bench. I'm a Southern gentleman, Martin. I always pull the bench out. I still do that to this day. For a woman, I do that. That's the way I was taught. And I set her down. Then I went around and I sat on the organ. And then we would start performing. It went on that way for years. When I finally gave up the Hammond organ, then we got another piano. Back to back. We always looked at each other. It was the way we connected. It was a family affair. That's the way we felt. That's the way it was. When I performed or sang something, she would always introduce me to my brother, Sam Waymon. I thought, she hated when people say, that's Nina Simone's brother. And that's all.
Okay. She wanted to name you. Yeah.
She knew. She said, he's not that's Sam Waymon. We respected that. I love that.
Right. He's not just my brother.
You're right. He's an artist in his own right.
Exactly.
She did that.
how fortunate we all are that you were that you had talent as a musician and were living in Philadelphia at the time, a little closer to New York City where she was.
Yes.
How fortunate that you were able to get involved with her career, these early '60s dates, and then forward for what a couple dozen years, I guess,
Yes,
a dozen
yes.
years or so.
Well, that's why I named the album Purpose.
Okay.
We'll get to
Your
that.
new album, Purpose?
Yes.
Okay. We're speaking with Dr. Samuel Waymon here at WNCW. He is, where do you live, Dr. Waymon? Where?
I live in Nyack, New York.
Okay, you're in New York now. Okay. But you're in the area for, among other things, a performance of your own tomorrow night at the Kittredge Theater. It's at Warren Wilson College in Swananoa. There'll be some jazz musicians, I guess, backing you up. Jason DeCristofario.
Yes, he is.
We know him at WNCW.
Yes.
He and others who helped put this event tomorrow night together. They'll be with you. And you'll be, I'm sure, telling some of these stories, but also performing. And why don't we turn next to a song of yours, and maybe we can kind of talk about some of the backstory behind this one, Hell No, Jim Crow. This is Dr. Samuel Waymon. Sam Waymon here on WNCW.
Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there, baby. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there. Everybody's got their story, but what they really want is fame and glory. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there, and I don't go for that. Don't go for that. I don't go for that. Oh, people in power like to call people out of their names. By doing this, they don't have to take the blame. But they cheat and they're lying, while the hypocrites are at the church crying, and people are dying. I don't go for that. I say that, hell no. I don't go for that. Hell no. Here we go. Preach.
I believe that God has commanded me not to mix with other
I
races.
hope they are found and hung from a tall tree with a long rope.
We already have a nigger mayor. We don't need any more nigger big shots. Black. Blow stick. So if that turns me into a racist, then I'm a racist.
Hell no, Jim Crow. I don't go for that. I said, hell no. I don't go for that. Here we go. You say because I'm black, I'm supposed to jump back, Jack. Well, hell no, Jim Crow. Ooh, I don't go for that. Did you hear what I say? I don't go for that. Cause you got to go. And don't you move slow. Hell no. Did I say? Hell no. belong here and you don't belong there. You don't belong really anywhere. You got to go. Go ahead, play it, boy. I'm sick and tired. I'm really tired of hell no. What I say, you got to go, yeah. Hell no, Jim Crow. Hell no, Jim Crow. You got to go. I want that on the tape.
I like that last little bit there.
Everybody says that.
And that is Samuel Waymon, ladies and gentlemen. He is a native of Tryon, and he's visiting our area for his performance at Warren Wilson College tomorrow night.
Yes.
Kit Ridge Theater, 7 o'clock. I think there's some music that starts around 6:30, and then your performance at 7 at Warren Wilson tomorrow. And you have a new album out. What's the name of the new one?
Purpose.
Purpose.
Yes.
And this was the first song that was released, Hell No, Jim Crow. And obviously, there's a story behind how this song came together, huh?
Well, Jim Crow has been around ever since people of color have been around, because it was created solely for the purpose of intimidating people of color. Jim Crow was not created to intimidate white people, per se. It's Jim Crow is an attitude. Mm. It's an attitude. It's not something you can taste. You can't wear it. You can't eat it. It's airborne. It's a virus. It's hatred. It's bigotry. It's suppression. It's totally meant to repress, oppress, suppress, and repress. And I just got sick and tired of it. And I had to say something. I mean, Dr. Billy Taylor, who wrote "I Wish I Knew How It Feels to Be Free," and other protest songs, Pete Seeger, a lot of great artists who talk about times. And I felt like it was time for me to make my contribution. I just got fed up with it. I think it was Fannie Lou Framer who said, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired."
Yeah.
And I decided to take that a little step further. And I said, I'm sick and tired of being tired and sick, of being sick and tired of being tired and sick. Okay? I had to add those addendums to it. And I wrote this. Jim Crow just came to me in a couple hours.
Okay.
I just had to get it out of my soul,
yeah,
out of my spirit.
Well, the civil rights era is kind of like a finite span of time. You were around for that with your sister, Nina Simone, but also just knee-deep in the civil rights era. But, I mean, this song is a recent song. Obviously, the civil rights era did not end because all the work was done, right?
Absolutely.
It is still going on.
And
you
people,
still see...
yes, and people must remember that Jim Crow nowadays is wearing Book Brothers suits and wingtip shoes. And driving Porsches and Lamborghinis. It's not necessarily the obvious fist kind of person who is saying, like we did in the 60s with the Black Panthers and et cetera. No, Jim Crow comes elegant, sophisticated. One of the things I love about the South is that you kind of know where you stand when it comes to race relations, because of the history of Southern bigotry and CORE and SNCC and my experience with the KKK back in the day. When you go north, then it becomes a little bit more dangerous. Why? Because it's subtle. Nothing like subtle racism. I love you so much, and they're trying to hug you and they're sticking a knife in the back at the same time while they're kissing you from the front. That's dangerous. And that's what the metaphor that I see, and when I speak of it that way, I like, because I talk in colors, if you notice. My language it might be a metaphor, but metaphors are based on truth also. So that's why Jim Crow is dangerous. Washington, D.C., as of now, consists of a whole bunch of members belonging to the Jim Crow Club, and it comes in different fashions. It's not always so obvious, and it's not always black and white. It's taken on a different kind of definition in my mind.
Okay, yeah. Well, we celebrate Black History Month to celebrate and tell the stories of the history of, the back in the day. But the reason why we honor and celebrate is because of how relevant it still is today.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, and for better and for worse. So it's obvious that we're still needing songs like this new one of yours.
Thank you.
Dr. Waymon. But in terms of the Black history, you were marching with Dr. King. You were jailed with him. You met Malcolm X. You sang at his funeral.
Yes.
I mean, that sounds like a whole book or two that you need to write.
Well, yeah, and I'm still writing it.
Okay, so
I'm
you
not
are.
done yet.
Good. All right. Are you working on a book?
Yes, I've been
memoir?
writing it for about 4 years now.
Okay, good.
It's so strange to write an autobiography because you say, yeah, well, I can't write the ending because I'm still alive. So
I know that's always been a bit of a challenge.
it is
isn't it?
it is, yes, almost impossible to. And the funny thing is, I still have a lot of work to do.
Okay.
I just turned 80, but that doesn't mean, I don't know what that means. I've never been 80 before, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Have you?
No, I haven't. But if I am blessed enough to become 80,
Yes.
I want the energy and just the clarity that you have.
Well, thank you.
It's wonderful. Just to be in the presence of someone who is so involved with folks from back in the day, at my younger age,
Yes.
Dr. King, Malcolm X, those are images on the black and white television from before I was born.
Yes.
But you lived and breathed and marched with them, and I'm sure you have lots of stories that maybe come out in some of the songs like this one, and would certainly come out in the memoirs. Do you talk about some of these stories at your performances, like you're doing tomorrow night?
Yes.
Okay.
It's funny because the president of the college said, make sure that Dr. Waymon opens his mouth and talks from the stage.
Okay, sure.
So I am.
I can't imagine you not
Yes.
not being able
Well,
to.
sometimes I talk. I think I talk too much, but yes, it's hard to keep your mouth shut when you got a lot to say. It really is.
When there's so much to be said.
Yes.
Well, for those just tuning in, the folks that the person that is speaking with us, the guest is Dr. Samuel Waymon, native of Tryon, grew up with his sister, who we know as Nina Simone. We've shared a lot about the restoration of the house and the Nina Simone project,
Yes.
the statue there in Tryon. Why don't we turn to another song of your sisters,
Okay.
Let It Be Me. This is from a little later. This is from 74. You want to introduce this song, Doctor?
I think we were singing it. Well, that's not her song. Let It Be Me is as you know, it's old school. I think we sang that. We were on BBC at the Olympia Theater in Paris. I think that's where that comes from. Either that or BBC in London somewhere. I can't quite remember. But yes, it's a duo. This is an example of how she and I sang together.
Okay, so you are joining her on this
Oh,
recording.
it's a duet.
Okay.
Deliberately.
All
Yes.
right. Nina Simone with her brother, Dr. Sam Waymon from 74 here at WNCW.
That's a long time.
God bless the day I found you. I want to stay around you, and so I beg you, let it be me. Don't take this heaven from one. If you must cling to someone now and forever, let it be me. Each time we meet, love, I find complete love. Without your sweet love, what would life be? Don't ever leave me lonely. Say that you want me only.
Recorded live back in 1974, Nina Simone, Let It Be Me, with her brother there joining her. And her brother joins us now, Dr. Samuel Waymon. Welcome back to the area, by the way.
Thank you.
Let me get your microphone on.
Oh, okay.
Welcome back to the area, because you live in New York. And that was recorded, you say, with BBC, maybe?
Maybe. Yes,
okay.
yes.
Because you traveled around the world.
Well, it's kind of hard to always say where everything was recorded.
Sure.
I remember BBC, I remember Channel 4, and I do remember the Olympia a great deal because we played there quite a few times. And, it's kind of hard to know exactly because we did all the circuits, all the jazz, blues circuits.
Yes,
in
including, and then she ended up relocating, moving to France?
Yes, outside
Africa,
of Paris.
Was she?
No,
in?
she moved to France. I think a place called Bout Bel-Air, France. She bought a villa there and she lived there.
Did you get to visit her there?
One time.
One time.
Yeah.
What's it like to come back to this area? You grew up here. I guess you moved from Tryon in your late teens? I guess it would have been mid-teens.
Yes, and we had to go there because of our father's health. My oldest brother, he died. He was 97, and then the next one was 95, and his twin, and the next was 86, and my father 79. Everybody lives older in my family. I had a twin, but it was stillborn. So my mother. I was born when my mother was 52 years old.
You're kidding.
My mother gave birth to me when she was 52.
Wow.
That makes me kind of odd. It was I had to defend my moms in school because the kids used to pick on me all the time. They thought she was my grandmother, and they would make fun of her. Your mother. So that meant when I was 10, she was 62. When I was 20, she was 72. I had to deal with that, but that's the way it was.
Where did you go to school?
I graduated from Chesney High School.
Okay.
My mother was an ordained minister, as you know, and she was a minister here in Spindale of Forest City.
Right.
So when you told me where you're located, and you said Spindale, the flags went up on I said, I remember Spindale. I was the last born, so I traveled with her everywhere she went to. She was an ordained minister, and she was a very elegant, sophisticated, very well-spoken mom. I say that because everybody wanted to know where did Nina get her feistiness, they call it defiance, from. My mother, we are CME Methodists, Christian Methodist Episcopal, not AME. And so when she would go to the bishop conference, all the men sitting judgment on her, they were all men, God-like. They didn't believe in women preachers. My mother would not stand for that. She said, there's no such. Show me in the Bible where women are not allowed to preach. Because she knew the Bible like this, and they couldn't. The strength and the beauty and the power of my mother and women was the fact that she was very good at going to old churches in the backwoods and building up the denomination. She was a builder, and she was good at that. And I traveled with her, and I played the organ and the piano. So I was the last to leave at the baby son, my mother's side. And I remember I was so inspired by her standing up for what she believes in. I think that's where the Waymon family got it from. That's where Nina got it from. That's where Eunice got it from.
Right.
That's where I got it from.
We're talking with Dr. Samuel Waymon here, talking about growing up with his family in Tryon and such. And when you come back to Tryon, like you have this past week or so, you see the statue there on Trade Street of your sister. How about your childhood home that's being restored by? There's the Nina Simone Project, but then some folks that are listening are aware of the National Trust for Historic Preservation that have been getting involved to designate it a cultural heritage site.
Yes.
What's it like to see this house that you grew up in?
Everything is so surreal. It's very surreal. I'm still trying to adjust to it because when you're a kid, you just become a kid. You just do what you do. You live where you live. You don't think that years later they want to trace your footsteps and they want to treat everything as though that it's a monument. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, I mean, I respect it. I appreciate it. I'm humble. I'm a humble man, but the but is, I had to get used to the fact that where you break up toys and you make a mess in the house now is being restored. So I said to everybody, okay, do you still have the mess that I made when it's crazy. I'm honored by it. Aside from the humor, I do appreciate it. I do. But it's still surreal.
So do you have any kind of particular vision of what you would like the house to look like? Because it sounds like it's still being discussed,
It's going
an
to,
artist retreat. Or?
The house is going to, thanks to Chris Ambrose, who runs the Nina Simone Project in Tryon, it's going to be restored to its heyday, to its original form. It was only three rooms. Yeah, 3 rooms. That's it.
It's a small house, folks.
Oh, yeah, it is a small house. But I'm honored by this still. And yes, they're going to restore it, and they're going to build up the neighborhood in which the house is sitting in.
Right.
And it's right across the street from St. Luke's CME Church, where my mother pastored and where I was baptized.
Yes.
And I say all that to say that why it's profound is that it's part of purpose. Everything I'm doing now is about purpose. Because nothing exists unto itself without it deliberately being there. Mm-hmm. That's impossible for it to be otherwise. So the idea that they're restoring the house and it's right up the street, across the street from where my mother's church is, when you can see it, and the cornerstone of the church has my family name, John D. Waymon.
Okay.
Is one of the front. To me, that none of that is by accident. It is so profound that you almost have to bow to it, because to me it shows everything relates to one thing relates to another. Everything is relative, but there's a purpose. And we use the word purpose, and I don't want to saturate the world with the word purpose. But when you think of why things exist and why we respond to certain things the way we do, and we don't have answers for them, maybe there are no answers for it. Maybe because there are many things that I don't understand. I don't understand how I can crawl up to the piano at 3 and start playing. I don't get it. But it's not for me to understand. It's for me to accept it. And I think that's what I want people to understand is that whatever it is that you don't understand has a reason. And don't freak out over it. Don't, the thing that I hear people say, why me? Why was I chosen this? Why do you want to know why? You were.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Wear it.
Yeah, move past it and wear it. Own it.
Own it. Let it be your armor. Let it be your shield. Forget about why. That's not, because knowing the answer is not going to change its purpose. The fact that because I asked my mother, I said, what are you talking about? She said, son, there are 3 things I got to teach you. She told me this, and she told Eunice this. 3 things about your gift. Don't lose it, don't abuse it, or you will lose it. Those 3 things. That's been my mantra every day. And Nina, same thing with Eunice. She died in 2003. We talked about it. We honor those 3 phrases. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't really care to understand it. I just wallow in its greatness and its grace and its dignity. That's good enough for me. And I use it for the betterment of mankind. It makes me feel good. Otherwise, I'd be a very boring person, and I don't like that. Life is tough enough as it is.
It's hard to imagine that. Wow. Wise lessons from a true leader here, Dr. Samuel Waymon. Thank you for these great lessons and good conversation, stories, reflections, and some insight as well. More to come tomorrow night at Warren Wilson College when Dr. Waymon performs music and talk there tomorrow night at the Kittredge Theater, 7 o'clock for Black History Month and for your return back to our area. I'm really glad to hear that your childhood home is going to be restored back to its heyday.
Yes.
And it sounds like if it's to be restored to its heyday, that means it needs to include some messes from you kids. I mean, you're playing with toys and stuff. And,
Yes.
Working on the piano and leaving stuff around. Thank you. And thank you for also bringing all this history to today with this new album.
Nice.
We're going to go out with a song that was just released yesterday.
Yeah, on Valentine's
A
Day.
love song that was released on Valentine's Day. What else do you want to say about this one, Baby I?
My producer, Rich Bose, I got an interesting story about this song because I had to give a shout out to Richard Bozak because he's the drummer, but he's also my producer. He's been with me for 15 years. He called me the other day, last week, says, you sing that song, but you don't mention a gender in the song. What does it mean? He says, you sing it like you love the world. The reason I wrote Baby I is a testament. It's a testimony to all the people that I've ever loved in my life and who have loved me. Lovers, non-lovers, because we never forget the ones we fell in love with. At least I don't. If you fell in love with them once, there's something about them that you still love. You may not be together, unless you were an axe murderer or serial killer. And so that's what that song is dedicated to, love and people that you've loved all your life.
Samuel Waymon, Baby I, a brand new single released just yesterday, and it's here on WNCW. Thanks again for coming down here, Doctor.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
As the sun shines by day and the moon glows at night, all I want is someone who can hold me oh so tight. Oh, I never felt this way, but everyone must have their day. This is all I have to say. Baby, I love you. Ooh, now, baby, I love, love, love. Ooh, baby, I love you, love you, love you, love you. Baby, I love you. Oh, baby, When people meet people, they enjoy what they do. But I'm just a lucky fella who's in love with someone like you. Oh, for I never felt this way. Everyone gotta have their day. So this is all I have to say. Baby, I love. Ooh, baby, I need you, need you, need you, need you. Oh, baby, I love you, love you, love you. Baby, I love you. That's why I care. I say, baby, I love you. Baby, I love you. Yeah. I want you to know. Baby, I love you, love you, love you, love you. Say now, baby, I care. That's why I'm here.